Hey guys, I got a big update here for controller settings in Where Wins Mate. There's two things that I want to show you, which is the new button layout called Replace Melee and the global cursor setting. I'll even be including some hand cam in some sections of the video as it will give you a better idea. First, let me start off with the Replace Melee button layout. This is hands down, in my opinion, 10 times better than the default button layout, and I'll explain why while I show you some gameplay with the new settings. So here's the comparison between the default, which is on the left, and the new Replace Melee button layout, which is on the right. Everything that's highlighted in yellow is what has been changed. First is your light and heavy attacks. Before they were on your square and triangle buttons, but now they moved over to R1 and R2. Second is your skill wheel and mystic skill wheel. They were on your L2 and R2 and now moved over to L1 and L2. And lastly is your defense, which is your blocking, and your deflect, which is your parrying, which was on L1 and R1. Now they both moved over to square and triangle. Now guys, I'm going to show it in action and explain why this setup is better. This will get some time to get used to, so make sure you get comfortable with it by practicing on the training dummies. Otherwise, if you jump straight into a match without warming up, you're just going to get frustrated with this new setup. First pro reason why we use this new controller layout is the attack buttons being on R1 and R2. Naturally, a lot of gamers are used to a lot of games having the attack buttons on R1 and R2. Best part of this change is that if you're not locked on your enemy, you can move your camera around with the right analog stick and attack without letting go of the camera. This works well when you're fighting multiple enemies when they surround you, or when you're in certain boss mechanics where the lock-in straight up just cucks you in some scenarios. So you can just move around freely and attack at any direction without letting go of any of your buttons. You couldn't do this before because, say for example, you wanted to attack with the square button, you would have had to let go of your right analog stick and then attack with your square button, which means that your thumb would have had to move between this short distance. With this new setup, your fingers just naturally sit on the R1 and R2 and your thumbs on the analog sticks, meaning you can just go around and just attack and naturally just attack without having to let go and move off your target and then attack enemies around you as well. So that's pro reason number one on why we use this new controller setup. Pro reason number two is the Vernal Umbrella. The Vernal Umbrella is god tier with this new setup. Previously, let me show you what you had to do with the charged attack on the default setup. If you wanted to do the charged light attack called Spring Away, you had to hold the square button, right? And look, now we're attacking. And then if you wanted to go in the air and move around, you use the left analog stick, which is fine. But if you wanted to aim where you're shooting, you had to use your right analog stick. And look what I'm doing with my thumb. I had to literally let go of my left analog stick and move to the right analog stick to move it around. Because if I let go of the square button, obviously I'm going to fall down because I can't aim with it. Which made it really difficult, because if I wanted to move around, I would have had to do some finger gymnastics and do this, right? If I wanted to move around and shoot. Or I would have had to do this, move my index finger and then use the thumbs to move around and aim. It's ridiculous because, you're just going to give yourself carpal tunnels, and it's just really stupid, and it just doesn't feel comfortable. Now with the new button layout, let me show you what it looks like. Now simply with the new button layout, you're holding R1 to fire, and then look, my fingers are all in the same place. I'm aiming and moving with the Vernal Umbrella. So much simpler, so much more accurate, and you can literally, aim on your target with ease. Look at that. Moving around so much simpler. And if you want to move around 360, there you go. This makes life simpler, and I didn't have to move my fingers around. I'm able to shoot at the same time and move around and aim at multiple enemies with ease. So that is the two pro reasons why, and the Vernal users, I highly recommend you switch to this setup. And it makes your charged light attacks just so much easier to move around. Now before I move on to the other controller setting that I wanted to talk about, I just want to say that it will take some time to get used to this setting, especially if you have played hundreds of hours. Just trust the process and give it some time, and before you know it, you'll just become better at the game and the combat will feel honestly more fun. But at the end of the day, there is no right or wrong. Choose whichever you feel more comfortable with. I'm just trying to open the doors for people to have some more options to play around with. Now the next setting that I want to chat about is the all new cursor settings. Are you sick and tired of going into menus, pressing a million buttons to try and find out how to click a setting somewhere on the screen that normally takes 2 seconds while using a mouse? Well, we finally have a solution on the controller. All you gotta do is go into settings and turn on this new feature that was added called Assist Cursor. Once you turn that on, you go into any menu in the game and hold both L1 and R1 buttons together for a short period of time. You will see on your screen how long you got to hold it for, and once it disappears, you have a cursor on your screen that you can move around using your analog stick. and this literally makes life so much easier. You can click anywhere on the screen, making menu management simpler. Now at first you're wondering why it's so slow. You can just adjust its sensitivity, and I personally like it sitting on the maximum setting. And if you ever want to turn it off, you just simply hold L1 and R1 again until it's off, and then just turn it back on again using L1 and R1 at any time. And that's pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to explain what the new controller features are in the game, and hope this video helped you out. And please do subscribe and check out my channel for more Where Winds Meet content, and hope to catch you in my next video. Cheers, guys.